warrior, chiefess. She carried the ancestral power through this apparatus, bridle that she wore around her waist. And it was this that when you hear the account of turning pillars to stone or turning humans to stone, shuddered. Army that she was going to war with. As soon as she arrived, she had that, game over. Game over. This is why the Greeks feared them so. They hated them because they were so fierce and so successful in their battles. Troy, and first Troy, prior to the Dorian invasions, the Troys were African. This movie, I didn't see it because I can't bring myself to watch any more revisionist history. But there was a movie, I think it starred Brad Pitt, called Hounon of Troy. Hounon of Troy was African. They were not Europeans. They were African, Ethiopians, Libyans. That's who they were originally. Those were their kingdoms originally. But the Greeks are largely responsible for spreading vicious rumors about them being men haters, castrators, everything they could think of. Now you have to understand that this was a patriarchal culture, the Greeks. They were patriarchs to the point where they had a violent hatred towards women. They had never encountered a garrison like the Amazons, let alone women. And it was them that was largely responsible for relegating them to mythology. And of course, our Western culture supports that, but it's not true. The archaeological evidence is there. The king of Dahomey, Abaja, resurrected the Amazons there. He didn't just create that out of thin air. It has a history. It has a history. You had Amazons here in California, America, before the slave trade. The Africans were here. You had, it was the Amazonians who broke ground. California, what's now called California. It's just too much to detail in a short interview. But yes, they were very real. They were, they search out new land, and they would build that land and create kingdoms on it. States.
And it's interesting as you speak about history because I've studied it in coming across your book. Just put so many pieces together for me, and you just mother, I just can't thank you enough because you hit on every civilization, even the Vedic side. You hit on all of it, and I wanted to ask you this as well, because it is a short interview. I wanted to ask you about Wata. And you mentioned like that Wata was like equivalent to Moses. I wanted you to touch on that a little bit and see how these goddesses that they call now in the Vedic tradition, how they have their foundation in this in the voodoo pantheon.
Africans, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, and many other, the Elamite, they call them the Elamite culture. They like to call them Indo-Europeans, but that's not what they were. They were Indo-Africans and Cushites, Libyans, Ethiopians. They and including Artemis, Multimemia, all of the African goddesses and gods existed in India, especially northern India. This is before the so-called Aryans run them out, because they had crossed but prior to that, these same groups were in ancient Mesopotamia. And that's brings up another point, and it's important that I say this. The way that we have been taught to study our history and to trace its timeline it has been confined to just continental Africa, the boundaries of Africa. The way that Western history has contained us is to give the illusion that we existed nowhere else, and if we did, and when we did, we were slaves. And this is categorically untrue. Archaeology does not support this, and neither does my knowledge of our spiritual traditions and a host of others. Ancient Mesopotamia, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, all throughout the Caucasus Mountains, Turkey, all the way into the Russian mountains. We were everywhere. In India, in Asia, we peopled the world, colonized the world before anybody else. And we set up civilizations there. Our language, our spirits, our culture, our theology, our cosmology was there first. Chandra, in the what's called the Kumara Mountains up in northern India, they found the oldest Buddhist images, which were African. One is called Chandra. Chandra is an Akan word, which means mountain of the moon. Prior to Buddhism being patriarchal as it was today, it was founded by the mother. It was feminine. It was the complementary, that logos, in other words, that principle, that divine principle of balance, masculine and feminine, was spread throughout our religions, throughout everywhere we went in the world, or it was a faction off. That's the first thing that needs to be recognized. Now, the gods and so-called goddesses of ancient India, if you ask the average Indian who is Hindu, the origin of those goddesses and gods, he could not tell you. He could not go back 100 years. All he knows is that that is what he was taught growing up. And yet, the Hindu soldiers, when they had gone into ancient Egypt, they immediately recognized the same gods. And they immediately dobalied those gods. In other words, they prostrated to give honor to those gods. There's one called Vili-Aman. She's in an ancient rock carving. She was a Swami, and she was worshipped as Hara Hara, the great Mother Earth, manifesting the generative principle. She was known by many names. Regina Colet, Black Maria, Circes. She was the mother of all these divinities. Durga, Shiva, Krishna. In fact, the Sibyl prophecies, when they prophesied for the Krishna, who was also African, and he is believed to have come from the Mende tribe in West Africa. When they prophesied about the next solar savior, they weren't talking about this European man on a cross that they called Jesus, which we know now is Michelangelo's brother or nephew. They were talking about Krishna. to rid the world not of this concept of salvation. It was not like that. It was congruent with the cosmic cycle of birth, death, and regeneration, and to purify the earth, the sacrifice, based on the ancient mythos that the first God that come from the water, it was supposedly the nomos, there's supposed to have been 7 or 8,